All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group meeting. We're glad you're with us. It's November 11th, 2022. Our agenda this morning, we'll start out with success stories. I do know of one landing. We'll then have everybody put their 30-second introductions into the chat window. For those that are here in person, we'll allow them to have an opportunity to give their 30-second introduction. We'll then go to committee reports. We'll hear about workshop, job fairs, the practice interview team, the interview success workshop, and the career tip of the week. And then we will have our main event, our speaker coming up at about the top of the hour. Oop, there we go, top of the hour. All right, so for those people on Zoom, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please just put your questions into the Zoom chat window. For those watching on Facebook right now, good morning. Thank you for being with us. If you have any questions, just put your questions and comments into the comment field. We're monitoring that feed and we'll be sure to get those questions answered for you. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. Well, good morning, everybody. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. The group's been around since the late 1990s. I took it over in 2007. In 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those who are unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I launched careerusa.org, a website to help those around the United States. I have written a book, What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon, or if you see me in person, I usually have copies with me. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team, also known as the Dallas Pit Crew, and you'll hear more about that in just a moment. Well, we'd like to start the meeting off with good news. Anybody out there have any landings? Anybody have any good news they would like to share? Going once, going twice, anybody? All right, well, I did hear one landing. Susan Brevins has landed. She just wanted to let us know that she officially started a new job as a QA support specialist on Monday, this past Monday. It's a contract job, but it's supposed to be long-term, so I accepted it while she's continuing to look for a full-time permanent position. She found the job when a veteran recruiter contacted her. The lesson to be gleaned here is to get connected to reputable recruiters and stay active on LinkedIn. Like posts, congratulate people, and engage. Give your LinkedIn profile lots of love so recruiters will want to call you. I want to thank Jeff for hosting 4 excellent job search meetings every week. The advice and assistance provided is invaluable. So Susan makes our 38th landing that I know about this year. So Susan, congratulations. All right, anybody else? One more chance. All right, we'll move on. Okay, what we'd like everybody to do now is put in the chat box, open up the Zoom chat window and put in your name, comma, phone number, comma, email address, comma, position you're looking for, comma, 2 or 3 target companies, then hit the return key. And we will use that information. I'll put out an email this afternoon to everybody who's in attendance, everybody who says they're here on the roster. And I'll also use it to update the roster. So if you're using this as a workforce commission as one of your events for the week, this will get you on the roster. So like I said, I use this to update the roster. So if you're here, I know you're going to be here. We're also going to have a handout from our presenter later this morning. So if you want to get that handout, you're going to need to make sure that you're on the list. So we're going to give you 30 seconds on the clock. All right, if you're still typing, please go right ahead and keep typing. That'll be just fine. All right, let's see here. Well, what we want to do is we want to give everybody who's here in person the opportunity to be able to give their 30-second introductions. So hold on, let me find them here. Let me add them so you all can see who is here in the room. And let me give a mic here. Hold on.
Good morning, everybody. My name is David Carey. I am looking for a VP or Director of Learning and Development. I am a learning and development expert. I help build learning strategies aligned with organizational goals and objectives and help individuals and their teams get the most out of their learning opportunities. My two target companies are First United Bank and McKesson. And again, my name is David Carey. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Andre Bergstein. I'm currently still employed in the military. I work over up in Oklahoma. I'm looking for more career opportunities. As I've identified, I want to maybe pivot towards the Dallas area. I grew up here. I still have about a year left in the military, so that's what I'm doing right now, just research, exploring, networking. Have a career background in operations, project management. I'm looking into career pivoting into the IT field, preferably AWS or Microsoft. Thank you.
Great. Thank you all for being here this morning. All right. Career DFW and careerusa.org are two totally free websites that are out there to help you in your job search. If you, let's see here, let me change one thing real quick. They're here to help you in the website. So if you need any help, if you know anybody who's unemployed, please let them know about these two totally free websites. One of the things you'll find on the Career DFW website is a calendar of events for those living here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. They have all the networking events, job fairs that we're aware of, special workshops that are happening. It's all color-coded. All the information's on the Career DFW website on the calendar tab. All right, let me talk a little bit about the practice interview team, the Dallas Pick Crew. Number one, it's totally free. So if you want to practice your interviewing skills, go to the Dallas Pick Crew. It's totally free. Their motto is practice early, practice often, because you can't just wait till you have an interview and then say, okay, I need to practice now, or I want to do something. Practice early, make that decision. You can just find any job description you have, just find something on the internet. Send in a job description along with your resume and what your schedule is 3 to 4 days out, and they will schedule a free practice interview for you. It's usually a panel discussion of 2 or 3 people. You'll then be able to, after the interview's over, it's about a 45-minute interview. They'll then give you 15 minutes to a half hour of feedback, how you did, how, things you may want to improve on. And then we encourage you to practice again. It is recorded, so you can go back and watch yourself. It's usually a very scary process to watch yourself being interviewed. But it's a really great thing to do. It's totally free. Just send your resume and job description and your schedule to dallaspickcrew@gmail.com. Also, when you send in your information, let them know where you are in the process. Oh, I just found this off the internet. I'm just practicing. Or no, this is the 3rd interview I've had. I'm hopefully, this will be the final interview. I'm meeting with the CEO or whatever. So if you let them know where you are in the process, they will tailor the interview for that. So you can reach out to dallaspickcrew@gmail.com or just go to dallaspickcrew.com for more information. If you want to schedule a one-way interview is very different. It's just you and your computer. We've got a free software program that's been given to us that allows you to do that. If you're interested, send an email to Walt Glass or myself, and we will send you a link. Both of our interviews are different, so you're welcome to do one, do both, do them multiple times. Once you get the interview, once you activate the link, it's just you and your computer, and the computer will go and ask you a question. You've got a certain amount of time to answer it, and when you're done, we will then get an email saying that you've completed the link. We'll send you a link so you can go back and watch the finished product. We won't go back and watch it. It's strictly for you to be able to do and for you to practice. So if you're interested, just send Walt Glass or myself an email, and we'll be glad to get that set up for you. All right, it's time to hear about the Interview Success Workshop. Good morning, Walt.
Well, good morning, everyone. Sorry about my voice there. Would you like to learn how to sell yourself I mean, that's what we're really doing. But I wonder if during your interviews, you're thinking of selling, or are you thinking of responding to questions? Well, if it is a selling situation, then how do we sell ourselves? And what is the definition of ourselves? So I have an interview success workshop that helps us understand how to sell who we are, what we do, and how we can help. The three elements that companies buy. They look at our soft skills, they look at our personality, our characteristics. It's a culture fit. It's a likability factor to some degree. Then there's the I do, which are the hard skills, the experience, the background that you have. Then there's the I help, where you take the soft skills, what you do, and combine those to achieve specific results for them relevant to that position. So that's what the workshop's all about. Now, it is free. You have to be registered to attend. And so that QR code that you're seeing on the screen will start an email. I'm trying to make it easy for you to register. That's one of the philosophies of job search. Make it easy for people to help you. Just edit that a little bit, send it to me, and I'll be glad to get you registered. I only do 1 or 2 people at a time, and I reserve Tuesdays from 9 to 11 Central, and I'll do others as demand increases. So what is it about the workshop that's different? It's extremely informal. It is not a mock interview. It's a learning interview. So we focus on learning that, and we go over the 12 basic categories of questions and talk about strategies, structures, options, ways that we might be able to respond depending on the question, who's asking, and where you are in the process. Be glad to have you participate. Right now, openings are in December, so sign up now. Be glad to have you come down. No reason that you have to sit there and squirm and see your life flash in front of your eyes in an interview. We are trying to just build skills and confidence for a successful hiring interview. So I'll call it learning without squirming. And what do you say is the price you must pay for this outstanding interview? Well, I can tell you now, it's free for all. Come on down, see me.
Walt, thank you very, very much. All right, it's time to hear the career tip of the week. You can check it out on the Career DFW and Career USA website. There's a new tip every Saturday afternoon. So Rosanna, thank you for being with us, and thank you for sharing it with us today.
Good morning, Jeff. Good morning, everybody. All right, this week's tip of the week is dated November the 6th, and it's Career Challenge. How do you explain a 6-month gap or more on your resume? Here's how to present yourself in the best light if you have an employment gap. If you're currently in a job search and there's a gap on your resume that spans 6 months or more, you may be worried that this lapse in employment will raise red flags with potential employers. Well, it may indeed raise questions, but there's more nuance to the story than that. Career gaps spiked 39% year over year in the year 2020, according to data from LinkedIn. The good news is that the data also revealed that 79% of hiring managers reported that they would be willing to hire candidates with a career gap on their resumes. It's not as unusual as to have a gap in your resume.
Rosanna, I think you muted yourself.
Sorry about that.
There we go.
Okay, so let me just start over because I don't know where I went out. Here's how, okay, so again,
You're down by LinkedIn, so.
Then that must have just happened then.
Right.
Okay. All right. So the good news is that the data also revealed that 79% of hiring managers reported that they would be willing to hire candidates with a career gap on their resumes. It's not as unusual to have a gap in your resume in today's workforce, and resume gaps aren't as critical or frowned upon as they once were. Attitudes on gaps in employment have shifted today, given that many people have dropped out of the workforce during the pandemic. And so there are reasons such as job loss to healthcare reasons to childcare responsibilities. So people are more understanding. So how do you respond if asked about a work gap? While it's important to address the reasons for any lapse in employment, there isn't a need to go into great detail. Instead, focus on the productive ways that you spent your time during that break. For example, did you take classes or learn new skills? Did you volunteer work? Did you network with others and or read industry publications? It is appropriate to share any of these enriching personal gains. And then if you took a break for personal reasons, you can disclose that too. If you were taking care of children or other family members, you can explain that you were performing unpaid caregiving duties. And if you were in between jobs, you can also say that you took some of the time off just to regroup or deciding before making your next career move. Remember to highlight any skills or experience during that time off and make sure it's on your resume. This will show that you were still actively engaged in learning and development, even when you were not working. Whatever the reason for a resume gap, there's no need to be ashamed of it. Be honest and upfront about it, and you will likely find that employers do understand. Now, what if the reasons for a work gap are less than favorable? If you were terminated or went through a layoff and it took a while to find work, or if you're still looking for a job, should these issues be disclosed? Honesty is the best policy, but boundaries are okay too. While you should always be honest about the reason for a gap, going into detail is not necessary. If your layoff or termination was a direct result of the pandemic, it's helpful to mention this, as those extreme circumstances impacted millions of people. Otherwise, you can mention that your last company wasn't the best fit for you, or that you and your employer had different expectations. It's more important to focus on the solution rather than the problem and direct attention to your experience, skills acquired during the break, and what you can do for prospective employers going forward. Try this strategy as you discuss the work gap. One effective strategy to paint an employment gap in a positive light is to address it in a cover letter, as opposed to using the limited space on your resume. By doing this, you can spin the narrative in a very favorable direction while you're being upfront about any concerns the employers may have. Here are the best ways to do this. First, focus on your experience and qualifications that make you a good fit for the job. Second, emphasize your eagerness to rejoin the workforce. And third, demonstrate how you remained active during the gap, such as taking classes, new skills, freelance, or volunteer work. What not to say about an employment gap? While a 6-month break in employment may seem like a long time, it's still a reasonable time period to spend on personal development or as much needed break caused by burnout. As mentioned earlier, the pandemic affected the workforce dramatically, so many employees needed time to recover. The rules changed, in other words, about an acceptable time length for a break from the workforce. As long as candidates are able to discuss how they spent the 6-month gap and their experience and qualifications are a good fit for the position, then employers shouldn't have any cause for concern. What may raise red flags, however, is pinning the blame on others for your own work history. Red flags are raised when employees complain about and or blame a previous manager or company for not helping them to be successful. This puts your potential future employer on notice that workers don't hold themselves accountable and is looking for a company to make them successful instead of taking the reins of their own career. Another red flag is raised when people focus on what they need the prospective employer to do for them. You never engage on how they can add value to the team. This is a partnership that requires collaboration, accountability, and transparency for both parties to be successful. Now, these are just a few ways to address a 6-month or more gap in your resume. And then here at Career DFW, we also teach that you can go on LinkedIn and create a current job on your LinkedIn profile using your job title that you currently work under, and then add in the body your top 3 strongest achievements that will add value to any employer. This makes you have a current job listed so that you're showing up in recruiter searches, and then make sure you have the setting selected to where you let recruiters know that you're open to work. We target those folks first. So out of all these tips, we hope that this helps you a lot. And I wish you a wonderful and great weekend.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Like I said, you'll be able to go back if you want to check that tip out. Go to the Career DFW or Career USA websites. It'll be there till about 1 o'clock tomorrow when the new tip will pop up for next week. All right. If you'd like to join us for lunch today, we're going to go to Country Burger today at 11:45. Come join us, northwest corner of Parker and Independence. They have burgers, salad, chicken, more things. So just come join us if you'd like to come see us today at 11:45. We'll be there at Country Burger. All right, so coming up in just a moment, our main event, How to Win Over the Holidays, How to Master Your Mindset for Success with Dr. Susan Carson. She's with us and we'll have her in just a moment, but I want to talk about what we have upcoming. Next Friday, Career DFW turns 14 years old. So once a year, I do a presentation here about Career DFW, a little bit of the history of Career DFW. We'll point out some things that are on the websites that you may or may not be familiar with. So that'll be next Friday. And then the following Friday, I can't believe it's already Thanksgiving. We will have no meeting because it'll be the Friday after Thanksgiving. So everybody will be too full from eating turkey and you're not going to even want to turn on your computer that day. So we'll just let everybody watch football and enjoy your family. So no meeting on the 25th. All right, time for our main event. Dr. Susan Carson is with us. She's a leadership coach. She focuses on results, a speaker, an author, a scientist. I love her scientific background because it's really interesting just when she brings those kinds of bits into what her presentation is. So she's with us. She's going to talk about how to win over the holidays, how to master your mindset for success. So Susan, thank you for being with us.
Good morning. I want to ask you all a question that I want you to think about until I get to the later parts. How many of you at some point in your life believed in Santa Claus? And then how many of you today, I like that hand raise, still believe in Santa Claus? Okay. Thinking about that, let's move forward. Jeff, do you have my slides or do I do?
I was going to let you do that.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen and hope this works. I am a tech appreciator, not a tech expert.
There we go. We can see it.
Oh, good. I can't, but that's okay. All right, let me set this up. And got it. All right. How can you win over the holidays?
Susan, just FYI, we're seeing the presenter mode, not the full screen mode.
It's funny because I see the full screen mode. All right, so what do I do?
You need to select a different monitor probably.
Okay. I told you I'm not, do you see it now?
No, now we just see the PowerPoint itself.
Okay, I'm gonna hit slideshow, right? And then, I'm sorry, guys, presenter view.
Yeah, you don't want presenter view. No, that's the one you don't want.
Okay, sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, you want the other one, play from start. In the very right hand, whoop, slideshow, play from start.
Done.
Well, it still goes to presenter mode. Okay.
All right, let's see. Life ain't perfect, guys. I have play from current slide presenter view.
Yeah, what you need to do is go into view and probably turn off presenter mode.
View and it's turned off. Go to
Yeah, no, not there. Over on the bar across the very top,
got it.
go to view.
Done.
If you want me to present it, I'll be able to do it. I mean, if you want me to call it up?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on just 1 second. Let's see here. And let me share. Here we go. All right.
Okay.
Just let me, I'll switch the next slide for you.
Okay. Thank you. So today we're going to talk about not how to write your resume, not how to handle the interview process, LinkedIn, etc. What we are going to talk about is your mindset. So let's talk about winning for a minute. But first, let's talk about some rules for this conversation. To me, this is the most important part. What happens here stays here. I know that Jeff provides an environment that is safe and you can trust each other to talk about what's going on. Next. Can I move this up? Can I move the slides?
No, you just have to tell me next and I'll switch the next one.
Next. Okay, what are we going to talk about today? Well, what's winning? What's success? Many of you are going, come on, Susan. Winning is I get the job I want at the pay I want with the benefits I want. Well, maybe I'm going to introduce you to a different concept. Maybe I'm going to introduce you to the concept that you actually have the control over how you think of yourself, being a winner or being successful. I'm also going to introduce you to the concept, well, if I feel like a loser, what the hell are you talking about feeling like a winner? And then, because we're just about to start the holidays, how can I incorporate all this pop psychology, as some of you are thinking, into being a winner over the holidays? Next. Okay, so what is a winner? All right, it's a guy who got 15 gold medals at the Olympics. It's Alexander the Great when he conquered most of Asia. Winning can also be, I managed to lose 30 pounds. It's like winning over myself. And most of the time it means taking a dream, which we'll talk about in a little while, a dream you've created. That's the key. And making them a reality. It's also looking at the dream and saying, is this real? Is this actionable? Is this in my control? Next. So I always find quotes I like. I find all these brilliant people coming up with things that I wish to heck I would have thought of. So a lot of people, including myself and probably everyone in this room, say that I need to win. That's shaping my life. And right now, for all of you, winning is defined by getting the job you want and or need. Pat Summitt, she was a famous, I believe, basketball coach, said winning is fun, but, and this is a key point, wanting to win is the key. Because when you want to do something, you change your whole brain chemistry, etc. And that you keep striving to move forward. Can I have the next, please? Thank you. So why do we want to win? All right. It's something that keeps us moving forward. Something that humans have is that need to have a purpose, that need to move forward to the next step. And it also is in the second bullet point, long-term effects, it actually affects your physical health. Now, I'm sure some of you are thinking, because I did when I first started researching this, is that what the heck? I just need a job. I just need to say the right things in my interview. I just need to have the perfect LinkedIn profile or perfect resume. That's an issue. And it's like there's a game that's a bunch of building blocks that when you pull one out, the rest could fall. It's the same thing with winning. When you pull one out and you win once, winning the second time is much easier. Have the next slide, please. So let's, as Jeff pointed out, I'm a science nerd. I love understanding how things occur in a concrete form. So why is winning important? Why do you feel good after you win or after you decide you won something? Okay, that's because you release chemicals, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. You release a chemical cocktail, as I call it. One of the key components is dopamine. Some people call it the feel-good hormone. It's a chemical, it makes you feel good, and it works in your brain, and it triggers the good stuff. Okay, it also, you ever feel really high, like your feet aren't on the ground after you've won something? That's what dopamine does. Can I have the next? Okay, so what does losing do? I want you to close your eyes for a minute, okay? I want you to think of something that you won at. And I want you to visualize how your body is. Let's say you're sitting in a chair. So you've won something. Do you see that your back is straighter? You're sitting up taller, your head's up. Now, I want you to think of something, a loss. You lost your job. And think about that loss for a minute. Your body, you may have slumped over, your shoulders are slumped, your head is down. Do you notice your head is covering your neck so no one can choke you, but you're needing to feel protected? And some of that is chemical. So if you see, I'm sure you've heard of cortisol, the stress hormone. Well, when you feel, and I'm using that term purposefully, when you feel like you've lost or failed, cortisol goes up. Norepinephrine goes up. So it's those chemical cocktails that produce those feelings. Okay, you can open your eyes. And the bottom line about this is that the brain responds to your attitude. And we'll get into that in the next section. Winning keeps you focused. The chemical cocktails are the good ones. They help with your confidence. And by the way, confidence could be the subject of a whole talk, that confidence is the secret ingredient in the sauce of winning, of success. I recently taught a course in communication, and yes, I spent time on body language, organization of the speech, accessories for speech, etc. But I spent the first part on confidence, because without confidence, nothing works right. And your job as a human, as a person who's looking for a new position, is having that conversation with yourself, working with yourself about your personal confidence. Bev, the next slide, please. So, what does it mean to be a winner? What does it look like? And if you notice from this list, not one of them means taking home the Grammy Award. Not one of them means taking home that job offer. Not one of them means taking home the person of your heart. They are all about characteristics of a winner. I'm sure many of you can think of someone that you know. Okay. No politics intended, please. But if you look at a speech given by Barack Obama, one second. Okay, if you look at a speech given by Barack Obama, when I'm not talking politics, please, but if you look at him, that man was confident, is confident. You know he won't give up just by his physical stature, which is a representation of what's going on inside. Now, I'm sure you also have recognized people who, when they get up there, let's say giving a presentation, you just sense they have no confidence in themselves, or characteristic of a loser to me is a bully. Okay, a bully is so structured in what they're saying and how they're saying, totally non-flexible, because they're acting out of fear, out of self-protection. So one of the gifts I hope I'm giving you is start observing the people around you and start looking at them and say, oh, she's a winner, but she has cancer. How can she think of herself as a winner? And if you ask them, they might say anything from, I have a great doctor, I have faith, I have so many people supporting me, versus a loser saying, oh my God, I have a cancer diagnosis, I might as well crawl into a hole. Now that's pretty exaggerating as an example, but if you think about it, a winner is in their mind. A winner is flexible. A winner is willing to take risks. So, and to me, the most important one is the last bullet point. And that is, let's say you leave an interview And you start berating yourself. I should have done this. I should have done that because, and then it's followed up by a letter saying, thank you very much for coming, but don't come back. And your first, well, this is the way I coach. I allow people what I call BMW time, bitch, moan, and whine, all right? And then come back and say, okay, what can I learn from this so that the next time a similar situation occurs, I can do something different? Or talk to any of the people that Jeff has introduced you to ask questions. For example, on an interview, you go to the pit crew and you ask. A winner always recognizes, not, well, most of the time, none of us are perfect, that maybe there's something else I can learn. Next, please. Oh, let me just intersperse something. If you have a question for me, I have put my contact information in the chat. I'm more than willing to offer any assistance I can for you. If that means you have a specific issue, we can do some laser coaching about that. Okay, moving on. Right now, all right, this is what I wrote. You got, she has a PhD, excuse me. This is not rocket science, nor is this appropriate to win, to succeed. I just need a job that comes with a paycheck and hopefully the benefits I need, okay? And nothing is happening. I've done everything they've told me to do. I keep my charts. I treat getting a job like having a job. I try to control all the variables, do what I can, go to all these workshops, and nothing is working. So how do I stop feeling like an abject failure? Next slide, please. Thank you. Venus Williams, I'm sure you know who she is. Awesome lady. All right. What she said, believe in yourself when no one else does. That makes you a winner right there. And it's all about how you treat yourself and how you work through issues. So for example, you don't get, well, we'll talk about that in a little bit more later. You don't get the job. Do you see the difference in the effect if you just berate yourself, beat yourself up, or move on and say, oh, shoot, well, I use other language, I'm from New York, and say, what happened? What can I learn from this? See the difference? Next, please. Okay, bottom line, that's the title of this talk. It's all about your mindset. It's all about what your mind is telling you and how you're reacting to what your mind is telling you. Remember at the beginning, I said to you, I want you to think of the answers to two questions. One was, did you ever believe in Santa Claus? I got to share with you, I'm Jewish and I grew up in New York. I believe Santa Claus was real and I must have done something wrong because he never visited me. All right, that's who I am. Okay. And then I said, how many of you still believe in Santa Claus? Next, please. Okay, what happens? I could get into some of the brain stuff, which is really cool. But let me break it down to, there are 3 parts. You have a thought, right? That thought can produce a chemical cocktail. Like we talked about before, I'm a winner. That's the thought. Okay. I'm going to produce a chemical cocktail heavy on the dopamine. When I feel good, the kinds of actions I do tend to be positive or moving in the right direction versus the thought, I failed. Feeling like crap. Action, hide under the blankets, which today you're going to do, because it's, at least here, it's going to be 40, and you don't move forward, you in fact hide. Have the next slide. Okay. Let's talk about thoughts for a minute. What is a thought? Is a thought a fact? No, because let's say you don't get the job you wanted. The thought you have is, I'm a failure. Or it could be something else. Any of you remember absolute numbers from school? Well, an absolute number means it's a number that's neither positive nor negative, totally neutral. You take your experience and all the crap that's in the file cabinets in your brain, and you look at them, or you could look at his closets of clothes, all right? And you look at that fact and you create a thought. Now, the brain will come up with something. So, job offer withdrawn. It's a fact. Facts have no emotion. They don't have consequences. They're boring. I have a coach who says that a fact is something Judge Judy would accept, right? Then you create the thought. So you put clothes around that fact. Job offer didn't come through. Thought, oh, I'm a failure. Or, I wonder what happened. So what I'm asking you to do is, down the line, is start being an observer of what you're thinking. What I mean is, how often do we have a thought that we start judging? Oh, I shouldn't think that way. I shouldn't react that way. So you become a judge of what you're thinking. What if instead I suggested, as I heard someone say, put your lab coat on. Remember, Jeff said I'm a scientist. Put your lab coat on. I want you to observe this. So one time in your life, when you were told Santa Claus comes on Christmas Eve. Fact, that's how you interpreted it, right? And then one day you said, Santa Claus, I don't think he's real. Do you see what I'm getting at? It's you can change your thoughts. And more often it's about observing that thought and saying, is that true? Is that real? Am I a failure because I didn't get an interview? Is that true? Or is it not? Because as I pointed out earlier, thoughts create that chemical cocktail. Okay, they shake up all those previous experiences and create a thought about something that occurred or a fact. And your feelings direct how you will proceed to behave, your actions. All right, it's time for, so what is winning mindset? Let me share, next please. Okay, let me share something that happened to me. A few years ago, as I'm sure many of you are hearing in my voice, I developed a tremor, a vocal tremor. At that point, I was very active in Toastmasters. As you can tell, I love to talk, just ask my kids. But I love to present, I love to teach, to communicate. I think I'm pretty sure it's number 2 on my strength finders. And all of a sudden, I am hit with a physical disability. Thank you, Dad. I got my dad's genes. He had an essential tremor also. I quit speaking. I stopped lecturing, I stopped presenting. I even pulled that from being with friends because my thought was, okay, fact, I have a vocal tremor. That's a fact. My thoughts ranged from, no one will listen to me. They will label me as an old lady who doesn't know anything, to, oh my God, she must be so nervous. How can I believe anything she says? Et cetera, et cetera. And my feelings were, I was a failure. I felt like crap. I felt like I was no longer enough. I could keep going. My actions were then, I totally withdrew. Until a very dear friend of mine said to me, she said, Susan, if they're here to listen for the tremor in your voice, you don't want them here. If they're here willing to listen and find some pearls of wisdom, that's why you need to keep talking. That changed my thoughts. It changed my attitude. It changed my actions. I went on, I got my DTM. I continued speaking. I continued running a group. In fact, I had run a group for Jeff for a while, for a group of women who just wanted to meet and work together and work out issues. So the point I'm using me as an example of is that power we all have. And that's why I brought up about Santa. Look at that. At one point, we all believed in Santa Claus. And we acted as a result of the feelings we got about Santa. Make cookies, put out milk, whatever, sat on Santa's lap. And then we realized that belief and that fact no longer serve me because they're not true right now. So how else can I think? How else can I do things? So if you look at the mindset of winners versus losers, all right, winners will always look for something that worked right. So for example, at an interview, with one of those awful HR people, or awful hiring managers. It may not have worked out for what your expectation was about being offered the job, but you could look, what did I win out of that? Well, I held my ground. I held my head up high. I showed I believed in myself. Or you can go the other route, be a loser, and say, well, maybe I could have done better, but it's just too hard. It's too difficult. Okay. Or, and I forget, Jeff, who you were referring to in one of the things you described earlier, it's focusing on the problem, not the solution. One of the things that really ticked me off about politics over the last few months is, I don't care what party you're talking about, everyone's focusing on the problems. I heard very little about what's the solution. I heard arguments about how do you define recession, but I didn't hear anything about, oh, milk has doubled in price. How can we handle that? That upset me more than some of the terrible things people were saying about each other. Bottom line, though, is winners focus on identifying the problem and all its permutations, and then honing their mind to seek for solutions. What worked, what didn't work, instead of blame. So, next slide, please. Okay, so this is years of background to say, so what do I do, Susan? All right, and the first thing is to remember you're not going to judge your thoughts and beliefs in the sense of punity or 10 years in jail. You will observe them. And I could use the word judge again, but I can use the expression make a decision. And it goes back to Santa Claus. Okay? Believing in Santa Claus no longer served you for whatever reason. Oh, that doesn't work. That, just doing that, gives you a pause for your reasoning brain. It's like, how can I describe it? Your brain's in two parts, all right? You've got your old brain back here. Its purpose, keep you breathing, keep you protected against the saber-toothed tigers at the door. Then you have your front brain that's telling you, need to think about this. I can reason, I can come up with goals and objectives. Okay. You want to include the front part of your brain into the automatic cycles. Because look at it this way. Your brain, to protect you, all right, wants to automate everything that it can. Some of the things that automate it, I call it, a hamster wheel, all right, created hamster wheels, your old beliefs, which will then impact how you deal with events. So what I wrote here is basically observe and question. Now, in an emergency situation, you shut down your front brain. You're not going to sit there and go, well, should I pull a rifle or bow and arrow to shoot the saber-toothed tiger? No. Your old brain's going to say, oh boy, we got to get rid of this danger right away. But sometimes in the case of thoughts and beliefs, when you can include your whole brain, and to working things through. It's very effective. Next slide, please. Okay, there is an author, his name is James Clear. If you have not read his book, Atomic Habits, in your free time, which I know very little, it's a good thing. It's really remarkable because what comes out of it is that sometimes the way we behave and the way we act is a habit. I believed in Santa Claus. That was a habit. And I changed that habit. I no longer believe in Santa Claus the same way I believed in it then. So what I'm suggesting is that old thoughts are there. I call it they have been put into cement in my brain. All right, I am on a constant weight loss program. All right, that's me. Okay, so I weigh myself once a week. And when I don't lose enough, I'm a failure. This isn't working. That's my automatic pilot talking. And then I say, well, can I just say, oh, I did do X, Y, and Z. So I'm introducing a balance into that. Next slide. Okay. So can I have the slide before? Whoops, there's another slide in there. Well, never mind. Okay, I lost the slide. All right, what I was going to share is this. There was, and I think it's a blog on Career DFW, and it was about either not getting the interview or not getting the job. And there were several resources about the resume, about a lot of stuff. What I would include in that is your thoughts. You have to deal with those thoughts before you can be effective in the actions you take. You have to, I have to allow myself that BMW time. I have to allow myself to do that so I can observe what I'm doing, my thoughts. I'm a failure, not enough. Okay, I need to then modify that and show some compassion. Yeah, that was a real bitch. I really had high expectations. And shoving down those old thoughts don't work. Those old negative thoughts, it's like, I'm sure many of you are familiar with a pressure cooker. What happens is that negativity can build up. For example, recently I've been having a number of health issues, okay? And I'm trying to be the strong person, the strong mom, strong wife, the strong friend, going, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. Never acknowledging to others or to myself how scared I was and still am to some extent. One day, my husband gave me the wrong directions, trying to get out of Dallas. I exploded at him because the pressure, by the way, I bought him a book to say I'm sorry. But the negative, because I didn't observe them, I didn't let myself deal with them, just exploding. And by holding that pressure down, you know, when you say, I'm angry, I shouldn't feel that way. Well, when you put the pressure down on that, it's going to come up elsewhere. It's also going to affect your effectiveness about doing anything more in the future. Okay. I hope you got this. Any questions? Again, my info's in the chat. Jeff has it if you just want to talk. As you can tell, I love to talk. All right, so let's take this sort of stuff and apply it to what's going on over the holidays. A common thought of the holidays is, oh, well, let me close the computer, no job search, no nothing. All right, now I want you to put on your hat as a winner. I believe in myself. I'm confident. I know there will be opportunities. How can I find out what they are? How can I implement, or what do I need to implement? That's a winner. Okay, next slide. Zig Ziglar, if you don't know who he is, Google. Dr. Google will tell you everything about a phenomenal business leader. Really intuitive, smart guy, all right? A winner is gonna go, how can I plan for opportunities? Oh, I don't know what those opportunities are. Let me research and learn and talk to people. Next slide. And one thing I'm going to comment on that previous quote. Ziegler says, expect. The challenge with expectations is that when you expect something to happen and it doesn't, it's like a bucket of ice poured over your head, right? What if, and I learned this from Tony Robbins, instead of saying, I expect this to happen, I would so appreciate this happening. So that bucket of ice water doesn't hit you. Okay, so what are the common brain things you can control over the holidays that will give you a greater impact on getting the wins? One, bottom line, holiday season, all about developing relationships or rekindling relationships. Know what you want to do. We'll talk about parties in a minute. And it's like you do a prep, just like you go to an interview. You find out who the company is, what their issues are, where you might fit in, et cetera, et cetera. It's the relationship, which means you're confident in who you are and you're willing to listen. Listening, I think, is one of the greatest skills. Okay, be who you are and give a real smile. One of the concepts in body language that I'm sure you've learned is that a real smile involves the whole face. I'm sure many of you have seen a fake smile where you just see the lips go up, but the rest of the face doesn't change. You know, the eyebrows, the forehead wrinkling, all that part of smiles. Next, there are 5, and I'm sure there are a lot more opportunities to win over the holidays, ranging from parties to, excuse me, being able to pay forward. May I have the next slide? Just for some information, there's a handout that Jeff will send you, and it lists what those are. Let's talk about parties. Everyone's happy, right? It's a great way to make connection because you're all engaged in the same concept. It's like when you give a presentation, the first thing you want to do is make sure everyone's mind is starting on the same thing. Well, when everyone goes to a party, all their minds, or they hopefully, is let's go have a good time. There's a lot of information sharing, sometimes a little alcohol causes a little more information. But the point about parties is It's not just your reptilian brain going, oh, we're going to have some fun. It's your reasoning brain. Oh, what can I do that adds to having fun? Well, I can meet people. Oh, how do I do that? Maybe I'll ask the host or hostess, who's coming? Anyone you think I should talk to? Oh, let me stalk them on Google, find out who they are. This is all prep stuff, okay? Bring either business cards or whatever in case. And last point is, call me old-fashioned. I believe in good manners. And today, I think they stand out even more. Hi, John. It was so great to meet you at Mary's party. Blah, blah, blah. Bring up a point they made. Hey, you want to meet for coffee? Make connections. And more important, and send a thank you note to whoever had the party. Next, please. Okay, and also, and we can talk about it, so how do you communicate with people? I'm sure you've heard a lot about that too, but it's all coming from that attitude. I'm a winner. I don't have to beat anyone else up. I can learn from them. It's that attitude in your brain which affects what you're thinking. Even if someone says to you, here's an example of winning. How's the job search going? Okay, you could say it really sucks. Or you can say it's going and I have another interview in 2 weeks. Think about the difference, not only in how you feel when you say one or the other, but if you were the listener, how would you feel if someone said to you, God, it really sucks. That brings me down. And I want to cut that conversation. I'm at a party. I want to have fun. Versus, I have an interview in 3 weeks. I would feel so good for that person. I would get excited. So, mindset. Health facts. You're healthier when you think better. Okay. And it's contagious. You ever walk into a room of a party, all right, and you can almost sense in the air that joy, that fun, that aspect, versus, God forbid, going to a funeral without a word being said. How do you sense what's going on? And happiness and all those hormones and neurotransmitters help you live longer and decrease the effect of stress on you. Something I want to introduce, the concept is called snow time. I know this is Texas, but growing up in the Northeast, as a kid going to school, in the morning, you'd be praying, and all of a sudden you would hear, school's closed today, blah, 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 and all your homework is done, your backpack is set up, you're ready to go. And all of a sudden it's like free time, snow time. And you just do something for your total enjoyment. I've coached a lot of women executives, and I'll tell them, get a facial, all right? Or my husband will go to a football game or something that the only purpose is to make you feel good and release those happy hormones, happy chemicals. Okay. Plus, when you're relaxed, remember we talked about maintaining that pressure cooker of the negative stuff? Well, if that's not there, you can put all your efforts into how to be more creative, how to come up with other solutions. So, just something to ponder. Nothing I'm telling you today is stuff you have to do. All right. My goal today is to have you think a little bit more about things that perhaps you haven't. Can I have the next slide, please? Connections. You know, I think especially in this day and age of the internet and all the social media, etc., that person-to-person connection is even more important. So, what does it say about you if you reach out to someone? It says you're a caring person. You want to stay in touch. It gives the other person thoughts about your character. So let's get down to brass tacks. Great time to send a note to an old buddy you haven't seen in 20 years. Okay? It's a time to send notes to HR people who you wanted to stay in touch with, just to wish them a happy holiday. Okay? Old contacts, new contacts. It doesn't cost anything except an attitude shift. And I think it could be anything from emails to cards to phone calls. Just do something that's important for you as well as for them. I took a course by a marketing guru a few years ago, and I'll never forget Adrian's. This is the only thing I remember from a course, but her comment to all of us in the course were, the most important part of marketing is stay in your potential customer's face. You guys are marketing yourselves. You want to stay out there. Next, please. This is, I think, an interesting fact. If you look at the life cycle of a business, all right, you will see that most businesses wind down at the end of the year. People are much looser, they're much happier. People are bringing in treats, and sugar always makes us feel good. Plus, there are some not so smart job seekers who say, oh, I'm taking the next 3 weeks off or whatever time period. So you got less people to stand out front. It's also a time where the CEO or the decision makers have less on their plates, so they might be more open to phone calls, to ideas. They're thinking of their future, etc. So there might be a little crevice to get in through. And what I wrote on the bottom was a new year. What it does for people who are so negative, etc., it still brings in the thought of new year, new growth. So the attitude of the people you're dealing with can be changed and more accessible to you and what you can provide. Next, please. And I don't care what faith you are. I believe I read recently there are 14 different holidays for different faiths that come up this time of year. And there are myriad of ways, and a lot of them are based on miracles. So it's a season to pay it forward. It's a season to give. So, as I wrote here, be there so they can find you. And I'll just share one quick story. Good friend, coach, she taught communication skills between men and women, and she went to help out with the soccer moms who were helping with the kids' teams, right? She went to do service. And lo and behold, a mom she was working next to's husband worked for a gigantic engineering firm, mostly males. She got one of the biggest business deals of her career, and it was all because she started wanting to do service. Just a thought. Next, please. Just something for you to keep in mind as we move forward. Next, please. Okay, so please feel free to reach out. There is a handout that I want you to just take a peek at. I want this session to have been a thought-provoking session for you. You may end up saying, Susan, you told us a load of crap. Or, oh, I picked out one thing that I'm going to think about. So I wish you all well. I wish you all a glorious holiday season, health, and that you find the job where you can serve. Thank you.
Susan, thank you very, very much. If anybody has any questions, we've got a little bit of time. If anybody has any questions, you're welcome to unmute your mic and ask away. David said, great presentation, not a load of XXX. Anybody have any questions or comments?
Justice Meredith, what is the BMW? Maybe my brain is just not here today.
Jeff, close your ears. All right, it's bitch, moan, and whine. I always let my clients and my husband, if something happens, you got 5 minutes, and then let's move on.
Thank you, Susan. And you are an overcomer. You have really, really presented well today. This has been excellent. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Anybody else? Questions, comments?
Hey, Jeff, Susan mentioned some kind of a handout. Is that something that's going to be emailed to us later?
Yes, I will attach the handout as long as I have your personal information, as long as you put your comment or your contact information in the chat window. And for those here in person, I've got your contact information here. We will be sure to make sure we include the handout and get that to you this afternoon.
And if any of you want to talk privately, you got my info.
Right. Anybody else? Last call. All right. Well, let me just share a few more slides and we will get out of here on this code morning here. Let's see here. Well, thanks, Susan, for her presentation. Next Friday, Career DFW is 14. You're going to get to listen to me for the whole hour. I'll share a little bit of history in case you don't know how I got this whole thing started. You know, that it's a nonprofit organization. I'll give you a little bit of history, some details, and we'll take a look at the websites, and then I'll just share some facts and figures that have, you know, over the last 14 years of Career DFW. If you've not put your 30-second introductions into the chat window, please do so I know you're with us. That would be appreciated. Oh, Susan, there's a comment on Facebook. The person would like to know, what's the name of the book that you mentioned?
Okay, James Clear. It's called Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits, James Clear. All right. Thank you very much. All right. So if as long as we've got your information in the Zoom chat window, we will be sure that you get you the handout that comes out this afternoon. Please join Career DFW and Career USA. We're putting on training 4 days a week. Next Tuesday for LinkedIn Tuesdays, Locke Alderson will be with us to talk about how to use LinkedIn for job hunting, strategies to get results. Next Wednesday, if we do not have an actual practice interview to watch like we did this past Wednesday, we will talk about building rapport, how to establish chemistry with the interviewer. If we do have a candidate and we have an actual practice interview, we'll skip this title for next week. And then this Thursday, being the third Thursday of the month, we're going to talk all about effective resumes, and we have an expert speaker who will share their thoughts on effective resumes. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel. On the Career USA YouTube channel, we've got over 400 videos there. So the best thing to do is when you get to the channel, click on playlist, because there's only 7 different playlists, and then you can pick the playlist that you want to look at. So if you want to look at North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group speakers, click there where it says view full playlist, and up will come a list of all the different dates and topics and who was the speaker, and you can go back and watch any one you want. For all those for the North Dallas group, be sure you're going to have to scroll in about 30 minutes. That's when the speaker tends to talk, just because of the start of our session. Hopefully, if anybody's out there and like to get out, put on your coat, put on your jacket, and because it is chilly out if you live in Dallas, come join us at Country Burger, 3115 West Parker Road, northwest corner of Parker and Independence. Burger, salad, and more. Please come join us. If you want that burger you see over on the side, I had them price it out once. It's like $32, but you have to bring your own ham. They don't have any ham to put on the hamburger, but everything else they've got $32 or something like that. All right. Well, everybody have a great rest of the day. Have a great Friday. For those who are veterans, happy Veterans Day. Thank you for your service. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you all next week.